Hello there, I'm Tabletop Toby. Welcome to episode 3 of Top 3 Things. Well, more specifically, Top 3 Board Game Things of the Week. So these are things that I'm into right now, either board games I'm looking forward to, ones I'm replaying and discovering in a different way, or a game I just got that I'm playing and I'm excited about. I want to share that with you, talk about them a little bit. That's kind of why I started this channel, is to share my excitement about board games, because I take in board game content like you all, and it helps me decide what games I want to invest my time and energies into. And it's just as important to find things you're excited about as it is to watch content and say, gosh, that is not for me at all, because I could definitely use more of that to maybe not buy as much. But I love discovering new games. That is part of my board game addiction. I like taking them in, and sometimes many of them float on, and that's totally fine. I can enjoy my time with them, and they don't have to be forever games, just like all relationships don't have to be forever relationships. Maybe that was too revealing. With that, we'll dive into number 1. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. It's really appreciated and it encourages me. Also, throw on your Klingon subtitles. That way, if I have any additional notes, thoughts, corrections after the fact, then I can throw those in and you will be informed of those. So, into number 1. My first favorite thing of the week is Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. I just got this big box. This is the Stefan Feld Classic, and if you love Castles of Burgundy, this is pretty sweet. I play it a ton on BGA, and I've been wanting to get a physical edition, and if you really love this game, this kind of is the way to go. And there's so much to talk about here. Now, this is a reprint. It was issued, I believe, last year, but it's new to me, and so that is why it is one of my favorite things this week. So where to begin? Where to begin? So I'm going to say we'll start with the Vineyards expansion. Now, this edition includes all the expansions that have ever been made, which I think is like 10 before this Vineyard expansion. This Vineyard expansion adds a new area that you can pull these grapes. Now, these are double tiles, so they take up 2 spots in your storage. So there's kind of a cost to this because it's going to inhibit your ability to move forward in some of the standard parts of the game. You can take those with these die rolls, and there's also the store underneath that you can buy these for 2 coins each. Now, these are the bonus tiles that you start with 1, and you only score. So here's the vineyard that you're forming, and you see it's a pretty sweet 4-layered board, kind of getting that vineyard angled thing going on. And you start with 1 of the bonus tiles, and you can only score for zones of the color for which you have bonus tiles at the end of the game. But every time you complete one of these layers, there's 4 of them, then you get to, oops, sorry grapes, you get to take another one of these. So as you're developing, you can take which ones correspond to what you're actually getting. And at the end of the game, it's 4 continuous areas, and it's a multiplicative effect where the more you have, the better the scoring is. And I'm right before the last round of this game, in this solo game that I'm playing. And this run of, I believe it's 9, is pretty amazing. I think that's 45 points. It's kind of incredible. Now, that's a unusually large area. I got super lucky. It's kind of a little puzzle you're putting together because you have to match up with these symbols there. And so you have to kind of turn them and get them to where you want. And just like placement on the board, you have to have a die matching one of these to place there. Now, they are a double tile, so they do take up that extra storage that prohibits you from taking more standard tiles. However, there's 2 bonuses for each placement, and they're pretty huge. Like this is, you get to take an action with the white die number, and then 4 victory points. This is, you get to just take something from the black market depot and put it directly into your storage. Now, sometimes some of these, when you're placing here, you have to make sure you actually have room in your storage to put it, or you're going to waste those bonuses. This is another way you can sell goods. Here you get to take one of the double tiles from the depot, which is the top section, versus the store. You get to take one from the top and put it directly into your storage. So right after you place here, you get to then take another one back to you. And so it's really neat, and it creates a lot of cascading kind of bonuses. It opens up the game a little bit in terms of it doesn't feel as tight because there's additional ways to get workers and things. And if you're working the right angles and making sure you have the ability to use some of those bonuses, it can be pretty sweet. Now in the game with the Chateauma I, which is a new solo mode that's also part of the special edition, which I have to say is pretty great. It really mimics playing a real player, and there's different variations you can play that kind of mimic different play styles. Oh, the Chateauma I, which I love. It's such a silly name, but I'm totally grown to love it because it's, Atoma normally is what they often call the solo kind of AI, but it's Chateau because it's castles of Burgundy. Anyway, it's kind of cute. But if you play with the expansions, it has special rules for some of the expansions. In playing the Vineyards expansion against the Chateauma, it just buys tiles. It doesn't have a vineyard that it puts them in. But it's very aggressive in purchasing them, and its score goes up exponentially. So you actually, a huge part of the game, it forces you, when you're playing solo with the expansion, to go very heavy into Vineyards, which is kind of cool because it helps you explore how it works and the options and opportunities there. But if you do not, you will totally get decimated by the Chateauma I. So you really, if you're playing with the expansion, have to go into it, which I think is cool that it makes it a huge focus. Whereas it may not be as much. I haven't played the Vineyards expansion with other players because it's not available on BGA, and I do not have this special edition that has it in it. But I don't feel like it would maybe be as focused. Now, if someone were going really heavy into it, you may want to block, like, one of the reasons I was able to get such a continuous area is I got one of the double tiles that both are the same color. So that really create connectors. And so if you see someone chasing a certain color grape, then you can kind of block them. But that's kind of just a quick summary of the Vineyards expansion, which I'm really digging and kind of adds a cool twist to a game that I've enjoyed for a long time and enjoy a lot. There's so many cool things about the game. So it has these kind of premium storage bags for the tiles as you're drawing them in the middle of the game for the ones that are randomized. It has this storage tray for just the castle tiles, the worker tiles, and the ships and mines and your coins that you can have on hand here. And you may notice these are acrylic tiles. So the special edition comes with cardboard tiles and workers and all of those, but you could get acrylic tiles. And if you really love this game and are going to be playing it for a long time, these are really nice. They almost have like a poker chip feel when you're drawing them out. And they're very high quality. The graphic design is really cool and matches with the history of the game. There's been many editions over the years, but I really like the art in this one. Now, I believe the metal coins come with a regular special edition. You don't have to get those separately, but these bags are included. Everything is included here except for the playmat, which was a separate option. And then the acrylic tiles, these are available in 2 packs. There's the acrylic tiles and then the acrylic kind of other components like the workers. And these are just really nice. And if you really love this game and you're going to keep it around for a while, if you know someone that really loves this game, I highly recommend this as a gift. Now, the playmat, it's really nice with the tiles. It just makes it easier to kind of pick them up. And it's just all around beautiful. Now, the special edition also comes with, so you have the castle tiles, but there are also these minis for the castle. And this is included in the main special edition. So there's 4 different castle types. And it has this dual layer player board, which is really nice, where it has for your dice as you roll them and then use them. It comes with this plastic guide to keep your tiles in place, so there's no bumping of the board and things moving around. There's a place even for your goods and your workers and your coins. So it's just really nice, especially for new players. It just kind of gives you nice organization, keeps everything in place. I think those castles are really beautiful. I did get the wash on them. I know you can do washes yourself, but I've never launched into that arena. Maybe I should. But especially with Vineyards expansion, with that quadruple layer board, is just a really beautiful production. And the acrylic tiles are nice. It just is making me very happy. I'm really glad that I splurged a little bit and got this. And the solo mode is really fun. It's a nice, fun puzzle. I haven't played with like the Shields expansion and some of the others, and it has options for those. So look forward to exploring those so I can help people know how to play them when I play them. And so that is my top favorite thing of this week. It's Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. My second favorite board game thing of the week is Cthulhu Death May Die. This is my first foray into the Cthulhu Death May Die universe. Specifically, we're talking here of Season 3, which is Fear of the Unknown, which introduces a new element to the game, and Season 4, which is kind of another Elder one, and additional episodes. And it's similar to Final Girl in that you have different episodes that you have. For example, this is Season 4, Episode 1, Horror in the Sky, so it's in a skyship, and you mix it with a different kind of boss, so a different Elder one, in this case, Nyarlathotep, or Nye, as I call it, with its army of moon beasts. In each of these episodes, the cultists, who are these red friends on the board, they are trying to finish a ritual to call the Elder One onto the board and to destroy as much as they can, or take over, or destroy humanity, whatever that is. And you are trying to stop them. So you have to do certain tasks to prevent that from happening and to render the Elder One at least temporarily human or mortal or whatever you want to say, so that you can defeat it, at least for now. Because us meager humans certainly cannot defeat them forever. So each Elder One has a special monster, in this case the Moon Beast, that's going to come out, and then cultists that follow them and are trying to complete the ritual. And then each episode has particular monsters, in this case the Man of Lang and the Spider of Lang. And there's minis for all of these, even in the retail versions of the games. And so you are investigators who are trying to block the ritual. You have health, stress that you can use for rerolls when you roll the dice to attack or when you're being attacked. And then you have this insanity track. Oh, we're off the insanity track. That you're moving up as well anytime these tentacles appear on the dice, whether you're attacking or being attacked or doing some kind of check. Any of those times, if you don't re-roll these away, then you're going to get a little bit more crazed from dealing with all these horrors in this horrible situation. But as you hit these red marks on the insanity track, you stop for that turn and you first trigger your insanity, which these can be negative, but depending on the timing and what they do, they can have positive effects as well. So you have to kind of gauge when those are going to occur and try to maximize that. And after you do that, you get to upgrade your abilities. So each investigator has two kind of standard abilities that are shared across different investigators, but then they have specific ones that are just for that investigator that do different things. So for example, Annika has these special knowledge tokens that allow her different ways to reroll or take additional actions. Rosario is boisterous and she's just like loud and crazy, and so she gets extra dice and that attracts enemies to her space, but then eventually she can upgrade so that she can actually injure them as they come in the door. So you take different actions to attack the enemies and block the ritual from happening. So you're going to move around, you're going to attack, you're going to take the special episode actions that are on there to, in this case, calm down the upset passengers on the airship and get them to a specific spot. You can heal your stress and your wounds if you're in a safe space with no monsters, or you have something that allows you to do it specially. But generally you cannot heal this insanity. So it's kind of an interesting game of timing these so you can maximize these benefits and upgrade these abilities to make yourself stronger. But then at the end of the game, you don't want to get to the end of this track because that little skeleton tells you that's another way that you can die. You can die from losing all your health, and you can also just completely lose it and you're no longer useful. Whether that means you died or not, I don't know, or you're just crazed in the corner seeing delusions from all the horrible things that you've experienced today. Another way you can lose is the Elder One is going to advance. And the way that happens is in between each character's turn, you draw one of these Mythos cards, which is kind of a negative thing that happens. It's going to summon enemies in, cause the enemies to move around, do some different things depending on the episode. So there's 8 cards for those. The Elder one, there's going to be 8 cards for those. So depending on how you mix and match those, it's going to have a different flavor each time. And when there are 3 of these symbols, these red symbols, in that discard pile, then the Elder one is going to advance up this track. Some bad things are probably going to happen. You're calling some additional people to the board, doing some bad stuff. And another way you lose is if it advances all the way to here. Something also to note is that if it advances to this red spot, the Elder one is called onto the board, but you still cannot attack it because the ritual has not yet been disrupted. So it could be on there and starting to attack you on top of all the enemies. So you really want to be in control of that and try to disrupt the ritual before the Elder one gets to that red spot. So between the episode, the Elder one, the different investigators, and the different insanities you get, there's a ton of variety here, and it's going to play out differently each time. But that's not enough, because Fear of the Unknown Season 3 introduces unknown monsters. And so these are an additional board on the side. It calls in 2 monsters that are not part of the episode or the Elder one that are going to appear on the board and cause some trouble as well. And every time the Elder one advances, it's going to trigger them moving or being summoned if there's no more on the board, or if there's some off the board still available. For example, there's 2 of these albino penguins. So if one's off the board, it might summon another one, whereas there's only 1 of the monstrous frog. And so if it's already on the board, obviously it might just move then. Another way they move is you add in these 4 unknown behaviors that move those monsters around as well. So they will move aside from when the Elder one advances. So you mix all of those 3 together to form the Mythos deck for this particular setup. However, with those unknown monsters, that's going to obviously increase the difficulty, but you have some additional tools. You now have these relics that you can throw in. And so for this one, for example, you have 1 free reroll per turn, which is great. And you notice these 3 symbols. When you reach the 3rd level on your Insanity track, you also get to upgrade this. And so now it's a Charmed Doublon. You have 1 free reroll per roll, so every time anything is rolled. So that is super powerful. And there's a bunch of those, just like there's a bunch of different insanities that can get mixed in. So that's even more variety in terms of how it's going to play out. And what's cool about that is that it kind of gives you a way to change the difficulty. So you could include those relic cards, but not include the unknown monsters if you're playing with newer players and you want to have a little leg up. I think the relic cards are super fun, so I think I would want to play with them regardless. And so you could play those with the unknown monsters, and so that's kind of the intended target for difficulty. But if you wanted to give yourself an even harder time, you could throw in the unknown monsters and not give yourselves relic if you so choose. But the relics are so fun, I have trouble imagining not playing with them. I've been playing this solo and I've been really enjoying it. I look forward to playing it cooperatively because you have to accomplish these different tasks. So sometimes it makes sense to have some characters fighting the enemies and kind of dealing with those and keeping those under control, or getting those out of the way, because you can kind of do a World of Warcraft run through, have the monsters like chase you situation, so you can clear a space so the other character or characters can help these passengers and calm them down, get them where they need to be to disrupt the ritual, whatever that is. You definitely have to work together to make that happen. You have to be aware of who's about to die, who needs to get monsters out of their space so they can actually heal. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for fun with that. You have the upgrading of your abilities, you have the upgrading your relics. So it's a pretty fast play, really. There's a little bit of maintenance, especially if you add in the unknown monsters, but it's not unbearable. And I'm really digging my first run with Cthulhu Death May Die. I've been playing through the Season 3 and Season 4 scenarios. I'm looking forward to checking out more, especially playing it cooperatively, and so that is why it is one of my favorite board game things of the week. My last but not least favorite thing of the week is Slay the Spire, the board game, but more specifically, the cooperative play in Slay the Spire, the board game. I got this game at Gen Con and I have been playing it solo and loving it, but I took it recently to a board game night and someone saw it and immediately said, "Can we please play that?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so we played that basically the whole night. We got through Act 1 and then about 3/4 Act 2 before the store was literally closing and we had to leave. And it was super fun. So I wasn't sure how this was going to translate. This was originally a solo video game, which was ironically a card video game. And then now it is a card game as a board game. And so in the solo mode, you're just, obviously fighting by yourself. But in the cooperative version, each player, so you can play up to 4, has a row that they're assigned to. And so those enemies will attack primarily that person in that row. But any of the players can attack anyone, anywhere, to help out each other and prioritize, because some of the enemies, for example, will be able to attack everyone. So this is an attack that's going to attack all 4 at once. So you might want to prioritize taking those out. Or how it played out sometimes, which I really enjoyed, was people would be talking and being like, oh, okay, I can take this one out and you do this and like whatever that is, and that's the strongest one. And then someone would say, guys, if I don't get some extra defense or help, I'm gonna die. And then everyone would switch conversation. Oh, I have a card that can offer defense to you, or I have this. And that's something that they've twisted with the cards a little bit. So for example, one of the main defense cards that's available in all of the decks now can be upgraded. And it's pretty clever how they do this. These are on card sleeves. And so you pull the card out and you flip it over and it is now upgraded. So when you are able to upgrade your card, you get the Defend Plus, and now it says 2 defense to any player, whereas before it was only 1 defense to that specific player. But now they can give defense away as a gift. And there's other cards in the deck that provide defense to other players. There's some that allow the players to switch rows, which is pretty cool. So if this one has more defense, or I actually think it's this character that gets a card to switch rows, they can switch and take the hit instead. And so that's pretty cool. So it really promoted discussion among the players about how to prioritize where the big hit's going to come from. If there was a character that spawns other ones, can we kill it before it spawns? In this case, it's going to take some gold if you don't kill that enemy earlier. And there's all these little health markers, and the randomized of attacks are a die that happens at the beginning of the game, so you can tell then what the enemy is going to do. Or this enemy, for example, cycles through each round. It goes through a little cycle, so you kind of know what's coming up, so you can strategize about this round, but also the next round potentially. And it just works so much better than I thought it would cooperatively. And so that is why it's one of my favorite things. And I'll just kind of back a little further out for a minute to say, if you haven't seen the Slay the Spire, the board game, it's pretty cool. If you're into deck builders and cooperative games, then I would recommend it regardless of whether you played the video game or not. But it is cool how much they have captured of the video game. So just like the video game, you get to choose your path. So these are random events, which could be good or bad. These are kind of standard enemies, which are what's here. And so you draw an enemy from this deck for each player, and then they may spawn additional enemies. For example, this one, the red louse, is what was drawn initially, but it summons a green louse and red louse, and those come from the summons deck next to it. You have campsites where you can upgrade cards or heal health. You have the market, which is on the back of this handy dandy player aid, and then suddenly you have a market where you can buy relics, which are a little pricey but very helpful. You can pay to remove 1 card per visit to the market. You can buy some cards to get additional cards or some items. And I will say, just like the video game, it is difficult to get rid of cards. So you want to make sure that you're only acquiring cards that kind of work through or towards a strategy that is going to work well with the deck building to make your deck stronger, both for defense and offense, just like in the video game. And just like in the video game, this is a tough game. So you have to accept that you're going to have some really cool deck building going, and you're just going to get a bad draw, and you're not going to have the defense you need, and you're going to lose, and that's going to suck. But sometimes you're going to have not a great deck, and you're going to be fine losing because you want to restart and have hopefully something better. So you have next to your starter deck, you have kind of your regular additional cards you can get and your rare cards you can get. And so often when you're acquiring a card, you get to flip 3 of these over and then choose 1 to add into your deck. You have your rare cards that are more powerful, but sometimes they're not going to be ones that play into your strategy, so you should just choose to pass them all up. Something that's kind of cool that they've done is that there are randomly in the deck these golden tickets in the regular additional cards. And so this means if you draw this, you actually get to, even though it's a regular acquisition, you get to turn over this, and that becomes with what would be your regular upgrade cards for that round. If you have the golden ticket for that one, you get to do a rare one instead as an option. And you know, maybe it'll be helpful and maybe it won't be. You have those sites where you get the random relics, which can be super powerful with your build, or you know, maybe not. Also a little bit of the luck of the draw there. So here, once per combat, retain any number of cards this turn. So normally you discard your hand at the end of each turn. And so you may have a card that you weren't able to play this round, but with that card you can retain it until next round. So those can be super powerful. And these are the same 4 character kind of setups from the video game. They obviously had to make some adjustments because it is a physical board game and there is a physical limitation of cards and how that operates. But I feel like they've really captured the spirit of this game. So if you're a big Slay the Spire fan, I can't recommend this enough. And even if you aren't, it's a great cooperative deck builder. A lot of cooperative aspects to strategizing your way through the game, and that is why it is one of my favorite things of the week. All right, and that was my top 3 board game things of the week. So that special edition of Castles of Burgundy, y'all, it's a great production with the acrylic tiles. Oh, I really like it. I was really tempted to get those 3D models that were available as well, but because you still have to have the tiles for the randomization and you have to dig those out as a separate step, it just seemed like a lot, and it's another box to sit around, and I already have enough of those. So I feel okay about my choice, but it does look really pretty, so I wouldn't blame anyone for getting it. Maybe I'll get it someday. Maybe not. Yeah, Cthulhu Death May Die is kind of the Final Girl experience that I've wanted to share with other people. Of course, you can sit Final Girl next to each other and make the decisions together, but it's not true multiplayer. So I'm excited to have a game that kind of fills that void in the multiplayer realm, so we can all be terrified and challenged together. So it's not just me sitting in the corner crying by myself. And then on Slay the Spire, that cooperative, I have really enjoyed the solo play of that, but man, that cooperative play, I've already reached out to schedule a session again with that same group that I played with. So I hope that comes to fruition, but probably not till January at this point. You know, it's December. So you know how that goes, the end of the year thing, whatever. And then there is a box under this table that I'm going to probably film an unboxing of. I just got it today, and maybe I shouldn't tell you what it is. Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's Ascendancy, which is a 4X solo cooperative multiplayer competitive everything. And I'm not sure. I look forward to seeing how those different modes play, but the production looks like it's going to be cool, and I guess we'll find out when we do the unboxing here shortly. So thank you for being here. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. And yeah, just remember, the only rule is that there are no rules except in board games.